You got Leon D here, and we're going to talk about food. You know, I'm not an expert on anything to do with food, but I've been around a long time, and I am a professional barbecuologist. I know food. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. I know a lot of things that you may not like. That's the intro for Leon D. Let's get it on. I got to tell you something that happened to me this week. This might be a two-part series. I'm not sure yet, but I'm going to talk and I'm going to tell you about it, and then you tell me if it should be two parts. Let me tell you what happened to me. I'm going to tell you what happened, how it happened, and how I prevented it from getting worse. Now, what happened was that my brand new Traeger 1300 Timberline caught on fire. Yes, it was on fire. Almost burnt down the entire neighborhood. But let me tell you, what happened. I was sitting there, and I like to fire my grills up a day before I use them. I fire all my smokers up the day before I use them. Because, you know, you got to have friends over, you got to have people over to your house, and you don't want to be embarrassed when something goes wrong. Especially something that you could have prevented from going wrong. Now, what happened to me was, I was in the house, and I decided to go outside and fire up the smokers before the 4th of July. Yes, I decided to do that, and I always do that. So, what I did was, I went and I fired it up. And, you know, I didn't think anything about it. I put a little grease on it to see if it would get to 500 degrees. And, you know, it took a while, but I did notice that it didn't go above, like 300 degrees. And then at some point, I guess the auger started churning. And then what happened was the auger got to like about 300, 450 degrees. And I'm sitting there looking at it, and I said, okay, everything's going fine, no problem. It's cranking up at the right speed, right temperature, no problem. I had it at 500 degrees. And then so I was in there, and I was cutting onions, getting ready to make some onions for some other stuff, some side dishes I was doing. And my wife turned around and said, wow, that's some real good smoke there. I said, yeah, that's that super smoke mode. That super smoke mode, I said, that's what it is. It cranks out a lot of smoke. But I'm saying all this, and I am not looking at my grill. And she said, yeah, that super smoke is really, really smoky. I didn't think anything about it. And I messed around. I turned around and said, holy shit, that's not super smoke. That is super fire. So I run outside, I look, and the temperature is like 550 degrees. I'm thinking, I did not set it for 550 degrees. I set it for 500. I opened the lid up, the hood. I open it up, and all I see is flame everywhere. And so I said, holy crap. So the first thing I did was I just turned it off from the back. I mean, I just killed the whole thing. And I look and I see some black smoke damage to the Traeger. Now remember, this is the Timberline 1300. And I saw the temperature fluctuating left and right. It was going straight up, straight down, straight up, straight down. And I said, that's a fire. And it reminded me of Eddie Murphy saying, that's a fire. So after I turned it off, I was trying to figure out what caused it to be that high. I had no food on it. So I'm thinking to myself, maybe it's the grease that I had sprayed on the grates, you know, just priming them for the next day. And so then I looked and I said, okay, let me do some investigation to why this happened. But the fire was so hot, it was reading like 570 degrees. So I'm going to tell you right now, that Traeger would go beyond 500 degrees. Oh, yeah. You put true flames to it, it would do that. So I started looking around, and I couldn't figure out what caused that. And then I looked, and the drip pan liner, the drip tray liner, was totally black. Now, let me tell you what I did that was stupid and that was dumb. And I didn't think about it until after I did it. I did not replace the drip tray liner. I used the one I had from the last time I cooked. And I didn't use it a whole lot, so I didn't think it was a big deal. But it was a big deal. Because what happened was the liner had got a little dent, small little indent in the middle of it. And so what happened was all this, the new spray that had dripped into the liner, and I want to say the residue from the previous time I had cooked was on the liner as well. So it had thickened up. And when I moved the temperature to 500 degrees, all that caused all that fire. And I was totally in shock. I'm like, holy crap, all this caused all that fire. Yes, it did. Now, Traeger don't tell you that. And now, normally, after I get through with one cook, I take the liner out, I put another liner in. And now I see why Traeger gives you so many liners. You're going to need them, and you should use them. So I was kind of like, wow, this is crazy. So saying that is what caused the flame. But turning it off from the very back, I shut down everything, and I was like, okay, let me figure this out. What happened was the auger, I guess I had some pellets that were not 100% dry and shiny. You got to have shiny pellets. If they're not shiny, they're wet, or they got moisture in them. And so it struggled to get to 300 degrees, like I said earlier. But once the wet ones went out, the dry ones came on, and it just churned right through the 500 degrees, or actually 550 degrees. It just churned right through them. And that is what caused the fire. I felt like an idiot because that fire, I'm telling the wife, yeah, super smoke works really, really good. No, super fire works even better. What I didn't want to do was burn down my house or my deck. But the fire was so high that when I opened the lid or the hood to it, all I seen was flames. And I just said, this can't happen again. You know, and my thing is too, I have my kitchen and my smokers situated so that when I'm in the kitchen cutting other things or doing other things, I can see the smokers. And I saw all this smoke, and I just glanced at it. But then when I went outside and seen the temperature was at 550 degrees, I said, oh, let me open it up. It's almost like someone set a bomb off in it because it was pure flames. There was no way I thought the Traeger would get to that point. There was no way. But now I know it will. And now so do you. So when you buy these top-of-the-line Traegers, they all got a fault. And unfortunately, you're going to discover their fault at some point. And now I wasn't mad at Traeger because I'm the one who didn't change out the liner. I was more upset that I didn't change the liner out, nor did Traeger say how fires are caused. Because Traeger knows how these fires are caused. You know, and all they gotta do is say, hey, idiot, don't do A, B, C, and D. No. So when I turned it off, I tried to turn it back on, and I realized that I couldn't turn it back on because it kept saying ignite error, ignite error. Because what happened was the fire had burnt the pellets so far deep into the auger that it was going to take a while before those pellets in the auger came out so they can be fired up. Yeah. I didn't realize that. And they kept saying ignite error, ignite error. So I gave it a rest. And then I stuck a little stick up there to move the pellets toward the fire. I gave it about 10 minutes, and lo and behold, it fired up. But I had to set it to almost 400 degrees. And then I turned it back down to my normal 250 to 275 degrees. That's when everything fired up. I had no problems. Cooked great ribs. I cooked great thighs. I cook great food on that. No problem at all. But these are things that I'm telling you because I don't want you to do what I did. Nor do I want you to think that your grill doesn't work anymore. Because these things are, these things are a beast. Oh, they're going to work. And the problem 99% of the time, if they don't work, the problem is you. I realize that. Like I said, I caused my own problems. And at the same time, I figured out my own problems. So it wasn't like I was going to call Traeger and say, hey, you guys screwed up. It's just that I didn't expect the flame I had to be what I had. No, I didn't expect that at all. But at the same time, it worked out good. But here's the thing that gets me. When you buy these pellet smokers, and I got a bunch of them. I got Pit Boss, I got Camp Chef. I love my Traegers the most because they got the biggest footprint unless you get a stacker, something like a Camp Chef, XL. Then they got a lot of space. But the problem with those are you can't cook big pieces of meat. You can't cook big pieces of meat. No, you can't do that because they are so close together, the grates, that you can only slide in ribs, burgers, hot dogs, that kind of stuff. The Traegers, they give you 1,300, square inches, and you can put all kind of big pieces of meat in there. I mean, I do 9 or 10 slabs of ribs at one time. I did 7 or 8 Boston butts at one time and still had room left. But what you got to be careful of, and I said it earlier, is temperature control. But one thing that I also realized too, that is when you are starting the Traegers, you gotta keep an eye on the smoke. If it doesn't look normal, it's because it's not normal. I just blindly said, that's super smoke. Woo, that's a hell of a damn super smoke. That's what I said. And then when the temperature on the grill, who knows how it acted before I got there. When the temperature on the grill just kept fluctuating from way at 550, 560, all the way down to 230, I'm like, okay, we got a problem here. But I reacted very quickly because I knew something was not right. And I said, my best thing to do is turn it off and let's start again and see what the hell's going on here. Because it was a flame. I'm talking about like a California wildfire. It was not just smoke coming out. The smoke was derived from the flame and the pellets. So, the thing you got to remember the most is that keep your eye on it. And what makes it bad was that I got the Wi-Fi app. It did not alert me that something was wrong. The Wi-Fi app works and tells you when something is right. When something's wrong, it don't tell you that kind of information. It don't say, hey, idiot, or it don't beep. It don't give you no notice that something is not right. But yet it should. So Traeger, give me the app and tell me what's right, but also tell me what's wrong. Because I could have burnt the whole grill up, the whole smoker. I could have burnt the whole siding of my house, and I could have melted my brand new Trex deck. I could have did all that and not known that I was doing all that. What if I would have been somewhere at a store or not at home? No. Luckily, I had a wife who just said, that's more smoke than I ever seen before from any of your smokers. Luckily, she said that because I'm thinking, I got super smoke on. Yeah, you see a lot of smoke. That's what it's designed for. That's what I'm thinking the whole time. But luckily, she said, it's just more. And I just told myself, whoa, what the hell's going on here? And I got my smokers. I got 2 of them close to the house. And the Timberline is one of them. I want to make a thief job hard to do. Now, I don't have crime in my area, but you never know when you're going to be a victim. There's no such thing as a advance notice. No, when thieves steal, they don't get advance notice. It's just what it is. And I've never had that problem, but I got some nice grills and a few people who are suspect to me anyway. They are very, very suspect to me anyway. They have seen those smokers on the deck. But I got them all chained together. And if you can carry 1,500 pounds by yourself or 2 people, go for it. I'm willing to buy another one if you want to do that. Go for it. But so if Traeger asked me, which I would tell them up front, like I said, it was not Traeger's fault, but I didn't realize such a small crinkle and dent or indent into the drip liner makes that much of a difference, because all that grease built up in one single spot, and that's when it took off and made the whole liner black, made most of the inside of the Traeger hood black. But like I said in my last video, I got a power washer. I got a pressure washer. I used the hell out of that, and I had it back to the normal colors same day. Now, I didn't use that on 4th of July. I used my beast, that Pro 34 and Pro 780. Those are beasts. I use those because they do the job. I just had to fire 2 of them up, and it is what it is. It wasn't bad, But later that day, the Timberline came back online and had no problems at all. Had no problems at all. Came back online. It was a beast, like it always has been since I owned it this year. But so when you're out there and you messing around, keep your eye on your smoker until it gets to the temperature you're happy with. Don't assume it's gonna go to 280 degrees and it's gonna stop there. No, keep your eye on it. Keep your eye on it. And if it burns at that rate for a little bit, you're all right. You're all right. But it may shoot right past that rate because the drip liner is very, very important. Now, I got about 10 Traeger drip liners. And my intentions were to put a new one on before I started that particular smoking of foods. I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to put it on this and I'm good to go. And like I said, I did it the day before I had company. You don't try things out. I don't like using my smoker in front of companies because they get jealous, envy, or they hoping for the worst, which in this case happened. Especially when you're a barbecueologist and you're good at what you do. They hoping that something goes wrong. But I'm not big on sharing my new discoveries or doing things in front of company. I've had companies say, you must have bought this barbecue somewhere else because we didn't see you smoke it. Because I smoked it, tested it all out, and when I say 2 o'clock, it means the food is ready at 2 o'clock. It doesn't mean show up at 2 o'clock. It means the food is ready at 2 o'clock and it's ready to go. And everybody understands that. So I don't have a problem with that at all. My whole thing is when people want me to show them or display to them my new toy. I felt like I should just show my new toy, the pressure washer, and just wash them down. But it was a great 4th of July. I had no problems. It is what it is. And like I said, it was not Traeger's fault that I did something dumb. But Traeger could at least say, hey, when your temperature gets above 350 degrees, we're going to make a beeping sound or we're going to alert you or whatever. They'll beep you when something goes on sale that they want you to buy, but they should also beep you when something's not right. And that way, when you make that investment, you'll know what you're getting. Or it could be a Traeger is back there hoping you burn down your neighborhood and hoping they all buy brand new Traeger smokers. Traeger could be doing that. I'm not going to say they are, but I do have my suspicions because it's such an easy thing to add to your app. If I can get National Weather Service alerts, I should be able to get alerts from Traeger saying the temperature exceeds what you got to set for. They did not do that, and that's where my only fault with Traeger is that you can add it to the app. That's an easy add. It's no different than when someone withdraws money out of your bank and they withdraw more money than what you wanted. You get an alert saying, hey, someone just took out $300, $1,000, whatever you have. Traeger can do the exact same thing. And, no one will be upset. It's just another add-on feature that people would love. So that's how my 3rd of July went, was my Traeger caught on fire. It was a real fire. It was not something you could take a water hose and put out. I just had to shut down everything and make it work. But my Traeger Timberline 1300 still looks good, still runs good, no problem at all. This is your boy DJ Leon D. I'm out.